the host of the Gridiron.
And welcome to the Gridiron, baby. If you can give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking phenomenal. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? It's totally free of charge. But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. If you want to help support my channel out, in the description box below, very top link takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, just underneath that, there's another link takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants The Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,500 members in the group. It is doing simply marvelous, might I add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing and if I get internet access, I'm putting stuff in that group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants The Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. Well, I mean, not everybody came out of Black Monday unscathed, but Schoen and Daboll, they did it. Apparently, they had a long talk. Mr. Mara was talking. It was like on Monday he came out, and Daboll came out, and then Schoen came out. So but they had a long talk on Friday, and so I don't know. I guess possibly maybe Daboll had an inkling maybe he'd be around after the Eagle game, regardless. Mr. Mara answered a bunch of questions and all that stuff and everything. He, the one thing is that, it was kind of interesting, because, I mean, some guys, some of these GMs, right? I mean, they just like, like Jerry Jones, every week, they're talking every week, just shut the fuck up. I mean, was everybody flocks to him because he's always good for something. You know what I mean? But, just, because all that Jones is this, you know what I mean? So, and the guy's like 912 years old. So you don't know if he's, if he's telling the truth, if he knows what he's talking about, if he you know what I mean? You don't even know. But guys that do this all the time, when they do this, it doesn't really mean as much as what like Mr. Mara talks about. Now, a lot of people think Mr. Mara is the problem and he's old and he's out of touch with football and all that stuff and everything. But, one of the interesting things was, somebody asked him a question. I can't remember what it was, but, he said, one thing he did say was, I'm starting to run out of patience, So when he says something like that, it means a lot more than like, a Jerry Jones kind of thing. He just talks and talks. I mean, and, usually hear the owner, being available to the media and talking and stuff like that and everything about it, about the football game right after a football every week. You know what I mean? Mr. Mara only comes around so often to talk. Usually he kind of stays out of the limelight and everything. That's the GM and the coach and all that. They run the operations and whatever, and he stays back. But, so they made it. One of the big things it seemed that really helped was one thing for Schoen and one thing for Daboll. Now, I mean, for Schoen, then go with Saquon and have him go to the Eagles and do what he did with Philadelphia. Just straight up a right square kick right in the cojones. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say the proper pronunciation for it because, but I mean, Mr. Mara had to feel that kick right square in the cojones. I mean, he's feeling that all season long. So every time he looks at what the Eagles done, Saquon, 29 carries, 415 yards, 72 touchdowns every game. And not only that, but then of course, like, what's going on? I mean, we got Saquon and he's injured all the time, and he goes with Philadelphia is 3,742 million carries, and he's fine. There's no problem. You know what I mean? So that's. That really had to rub him, really friggin' had to rub him the wrong way. The one thing is that, Shane, he made a play for him. Didn't work out. But Shane kind of like had his, his values per each position. Obviously, the McKinney thing didn't work out well either. Of course, McKinney goes to Green Bay and he picks off 912 passes. That didn't help either. But Shane has his positional values. I know he offered Saquon something close to 13 or so, whatever. Saquon turned that down. That's about what he got from the Eagles. I don't know why he took it with the Eagles and he didn't take it with the Giants. Then after they turned that down, then they offered him something even lower, I think it was. But anyway, so that didn't work out too well for Shane. But bringing in Brian Burns did, right? We have a nice nucleus of players. One of the things that really helped Shane out was this draft class. As we're starting to see, there are some chinks in the armor to the 2022 and 2023 draft. Thankfully, he hit it out of the park with Malik. Now, hopefully that young man can stay healthy because, the Giants, you go back. Yep, can't go back to Amani Coomer because that man stay healthy. But if you go back to whatever, right? How many? Oh my God, how many wide receivers have we had? Star wide receivers have we had, right? That have been injured, and even go tight ends too. We've had a lot of tight ends get injured as well too. But he hit it out of the park with Malik. Now, as I said, Malik can stay healthy. Right, that young man's going to be, he's a rich man now, but he's going to be a very rich man if he stays, regardless if he stays around with the Giants or not. But, he hit it out of the park with him. He hit it out of the park really with this draft class. The problem was with this draft class is that, even Malik played, he only missed 2 games, but we've got to do something with these injuries. It's just absolutely unbelievable. But Malik had, I lost count how many different injuries that guy had, how many times he was on the injury report for different injuries. He only missed a couple games. But Theo Johnson, I missed a bunch of time. Thankfully, Tracy was okay. But Newman and Phillips both missed some time as well, too. But whether they missed time or not, the top 5 picks, really, really good picks. Newman looks like he's a keeper, right, for safety. Phillips, he had the injury bug. We're going to talk about Newman. He got surgery, but when Phillips was on the field, he was big. Theo Johnson really seemed to be coming on. Unfortunately, then, of course, shockingly, he got injured. But, he was really coming on. I think he had 29 receptions, but you'll notice, I think after the first 4 games, I think he had like 3 receptions or something. He didn't have much. But the last bunch of games, he was really starting to come on. Getting like 3-4 receptions a game. Yeah, but even 4 receptions a game, right? Of course, now we're up to a 17-game schedule. So 4 catches a game at 7, it would be 68 receptions. No, that wouldn't be bad, And I said, and Tracy, right? Because, let's not forget what Tracy and Newman did, right? It's only been done, 2 other times. One was in the AFL in 1960. The other one was in the NFL in 2006, right? You had 2 rookies came in, right? And surpassed 1,000 yards. As I said, the first time was in 1960 with the AFL. However, they only played 14 games. And you'd be hard-pressed to know any of the quarterbacks on that roster. The 1960 Dallas Texans, who in 63 became the Kansas City Chiefs. You'd be hard-pressed. So but there was 2 running backs in 1960, the Dallas Texans, that did it. But in 2006, when the Saints did it with Marcus Colston and Reggie Bush did it, they had some guy by the name of Drew Brees throwing him the ball. I'm not a big Drew Brees fan, but I was a future Hall of Famer, right? Throwing the football. Okay, so that, of course, that helped. I mean, you look at what happened with Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy, and they both did it in 16 games too. They didn't need the 17 game. They both did it in 16 games. Okay, so basically they tied what Colston and Reggie Bush did. But I mean, if you look what Malik Neighbors and Tyrone Tracy did, they did it obviously in 16 games, but they did it with Boyle, Daniel Jones, Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan, Drew Lock. They did it with 4 different quarterbacks. That not like the one that the Saints had, future Hall of Famer in 2006, right? So very, very impressive. But I mean, I think that really helped Shane, because you start looking at his first 3 his first 3 number 1 picks, his first 2 draft classes. But you're looking at Evan Neal, and you're looking at Kayvon. Now, Kayvon, has done a nice job. Nice. Pick number 5. We kind of hoping he'd be just maybe a little bit better. Yeah, I think so. But, he nice. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I'm sure that derailed him a little bit this season. Didn't have a phenomenal season. He certainly came down as far as sacks from last season. Of course, the final one, a bunch of games when he was playing, Sexy Dexy wasn't in there. That didn't help him at all. But, nice first-round pick. But Evan Neal and then Banks. Trading up, I mean, like what 1 spot or so to get Banks, right? 1 or 2 spots, whatever it was, to get Banks. But we're kind of noticing maybe he's not a first-round pick. There is talent there, but I'm not sure if he's going to be their future number 1 going forward. So there were certainly some chinks in the armor in the first couple draft classes. But with Shane, he really did a good job this year. Now they need to continue doing that. Also, Mara was talking about, he said, like the analytics and stuff or whatever that they have, or maybe with the scouting and everything. He said it's like the best he's ever seen, what they have right now. Now maybe the proof is in the pudding there. This latest draft class that they had. If they can do that again, and let's not forget they only had 6 picks last year. And let's not forget about Neosau, right? 6-rounder, plays on special teams. If you put him in there, right? I mean, the guy makes tackles too. Now, of course, he's not Ray Lewis. He's not Harry Carson. He's not Dick Butkus. I can go on and on and on with middle linebackers who he's not. But, he makes tackles. He's a 6-rounder. He stayed relatively healthy. I'm trying to think if he missed any. I think he might have missed a little bit of time, but hardly any. But, special teamer. He played, right? And he made tackles. Guys like that you need on your team. You need those late-round picks to be successful. You need those late-round picks because they're cheap, right? Hopefully, as I said, hopefully if you can stay healthy, after his, if his 4 years are up, hopefully maybe we can bring him back. I mean, you bring him back for maybe a couple $1 million a year or something, right? You need those. You can't pay everybody $35 million a year. Can't happen, right? You need those cheap guys. So, I mean, he had a very good draft class this year. Now, we need to do that again. I think I was getting ready to say was that this year coming up, right? As I said, we had 6 last year. This year coming up with quite possibly, I think there's a Ben Bredesen, we might get a 4th-round compensatory pick, right? So we got a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd, possibly 2 fourths. So, we have, we have the ammo to do some more damage now, right? I mean, you got what did he draft? Shane, right? Malik Neighbors, starter. Newman, starter. Phillips, starter. Theo Johnson, starter now. I mean, you would have thought they'd had Bellinger in there, right? He seemed to. Some of the stuff is just kind of. I mean, I've scratched my head so much. Obviously, there's not much left there to scratch, right? It's all falling out. Some of the guys, it's kind of like, how are these guys participants, right? And then they're just like falling off. Like Hodgins, he went with the 49ers. Remember, he was such an intricate part or whatever in their playoff run and all that. Now it's like he's a forgotten man. Same thing with Bellinger. 2 years his rookie season, didn't do too bad. Now he's almost like a forgotten man. But anyway, Theo Johnson, starter. Tyrone Tracy, starter. Right? So he drafted 5 starters. Right? We do have a very young team. The draft class, I don't know if they said it exactly, but I'm sure this draft class, as far as amount of snaps that this draft class has had, is got to be up there as far as other draft classes. And we only had the 6 picks, but the amount of snaps that these players had is, as far as other teams, has got to be up there. The only thing that would derail that a little bit would be the fact that someone like Theo, he missed, forgot how many games he wound up missing. But he would have had a lot more snaps if he was healthy. Newman would have had more snaps if he was healthy. Phillips would have had, but he missed some time. So we're a very young team, and you're gonna have some bumps and bruises going along. I said, but the one thing we got to. I can't even talk about it. These injuries, just absolutely killing you. Absolutely killing. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It does matter if but if when you're on your 10th starting offensive line, nobody brings it. None of these guys bring this stuff up. We got to do better. But we need to stay healthy. You can't be on your 4th quarterback. I don't know of any. We go back over all the Super Bowls. There's no team, okay, that's like maybe on their 4th quarterback that was in the Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl. They're 4th, not a backup quarterback like Nick Foles with the Eagles or Jeff Hostetler with the Giants. Like the 4th quarterback coming at you 3-day. Ain't none. I got news for you. 10 starting offensive line. I don't know as far as going back. That's very, very difficult. Okay. I said all these injuries, we've had almost 30 guys got put on IR. These injuries are just killers, straight up killers. Yeah. With Daboll, right, the one thing that really helped him, I'm probably going to do a video on this maybe next time, would be his success year 1. That really, really helped them, because if you look, we're going backwards, right? 9-7-1, 6-11, 3-14. We're going backwards, right? But Mara brought this up also as well too. Is that with Daboll, being the coach of the year, taking basically almost, I don't want to say total trash, but a lot of trash. And year 1, taking us 9-7-1. Right? That coach is still there, right? Went to 9-7-1. We went to the playoffs, right? With a cash-strapped team. We couldn't even keep James Bradbury because Gettleman up so badly. We couldn't even keep James Bradbury. And of course, right, once again, he goes to the land where there's no salary cap, right? James Bradbury going to Eagles saying, "Oh, we'll take you. We ain't got no salary cap. Ain't no salary cap in Philly. We'll sign you." Right? Put 312 void years on the end of your contract, right? So basically we'll pay you whatever you paid them, 10, 15 million a year, but actually it's only about 3 million a year because we're paying you over such a long period of time. Right? That we're not really paying you that much. It's doing the same thing with Saquon, and doing the same thing with Jalen Hurts, doing the same thing with Devontae Smith, Lane Johnson, A.J. Brown, all the big stars. right? They're adding on nothing but a bunch of void years. So, but I said we couldn't even keep James Bradbury's first year because we didn't have the money. Had to let him go. Of course, the Eagles snatched him up. Had a hard time keeping Saquon. Of course, the Eagles snatched him up, right? But took that team 9-7-1 to the playoffs. We won a playoff. There was a lot of excitement there. A lot of excitement. Obviously, going forward, you expect 9-7-1. You figure, another year maybe, we add through the drafts, right? You get maybe a little bit more money to spend in free agency, meaning in 2023. We were 9-7-1. Hopefully, we at least get 10 wins. But we had a lot of injuries. Our third string quarterback, also that too. Let's not forget that, right? But our third string quarterback won us 3 football games. Right? I mean, that's not an easy thing to do. Right? So we had with Tyrod Taylor, Tommy Chicken, Carla Parmesan, and Daniel Jones. I mean, they all got injured. Tyrod Taylor would come in, he was getting injured. Daniel Jones got nailed 2 times in 2023, So, so Daboll did win us with that. There's another reason, possibly, maybe, that I'm going to talk about a little down the road here, what Mr. Mara was talking about. Hold on, I got to move my legs. Buddy Randy's at my feet. It's better. I got to move my legs. I'm going to talk about Mr. Mara was talking about something, a little deficiency we had this year that he was not very happy about. So I'm going to talk about that. But, the thing is, I said with Daboll, right, if you go back over all the Giants coaches, any of them been here for any length of time, they've always had success early on. I mean, there's been no Giant coach, right, who started off, I'm going to probably do another video on this as well, too, right, and talk about each individual coach. But there's no coach that the Giants have had that have been around more than by their third season, they've had success, meaning going to the playoffs. There's been no Giant coach that's come in year 1 and stunk. Year 2 is stunk. Year 3 is stunk, and been around for year 4. They've all had success early on. To maintain, to be obviously to keep, to not get fired. And I said, that was. I don't want to say a magical season, 2022, but they gave us hope. Got a new coach coming in. I mean, look what he did with Daniel Jones. Of course, Saquon was here, and all that. Look what we did. We had won a lot of close games. But, we were finding ways to win those close games. Now we're finding ways to lose almost every close game. But I said, but that coach is still here. So they made it. Interesting to see because Mr. Mara said he was running out of patience. What starts happening next season? Because, if just say they draft their, let's go crazy. Say they take Jalen Milroe in the 2nd round, right? That's hopefully the quarterback of the future. You're not drafting a quarterback in the 2nd round to be a backup. Okay. It's going to be a good, solid NFL backup for years to come. That's why we took him in it now. You're taking Milroe or something. You have visions upon this guy being your starter, right? So if they bring him in, right, to be the quarterback of the future, does that give him a 2nd season, with him? Interesting. Or did the Giants just take that bridge quarterback and I don't know, if something crazy goes, whatever, say somehow Darnold comes here and they sign him to a 3-year deal. Does that give him the Schoen and Daboll another year or 2 or a couple years? So it could be interesting to see. But if they do start off like 1-6 or 1-7, I don't know. The writing might be on the wall. Does Daboll even make it through the season? We'll have to wait and see. But as of right now, Schoen and Daboll are back again. I said one thing, we do have some money to spend. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But if they can at least, it's tough to keep knocking it out of the park year in year out in the draft. But I mean, if they can do as well in this upcoming draft as they did last year, that would be huge. If they can add another 4 or 5 pieces to the puzzle, some more young studs, that would really, really help. Well, one thing they did do, they've been busy. Now, this is nothing huge. Nothing huge at all. But they signed 5 players to futures contracts. It's McAtamney. It was the Scottish or Irish. I mean, you can tell the red hair there. I mean, yeah. But they got him. They signed him back, so that's good. But I mean, the 5 guys that they got here. All right, so we got Giants begin building the 2025 roster. They signed 5 players to reserve futures contracts. Several practice squad players brought back for the 2025 season. That's good. That is a good thing. Amidst all of Monday's other bigger news, the Giants began putting together the pieces of the 2025 90-man roster by signing 5 players to reserve futures contracts. Right, so it's obviously, let's not forget, right? Well, I said one of them who won't be on the team probably will be the as I talked about, it was Isaiah Hodgins. He leaves the Giants for the San Francisco 49ers. Let me read that one real fast here. So he won't be on the 90-man roster. And it's just one of those things. The wide receiver had lost his role with the Giants offense. I can't even sometimes talk. How could this guy be such, I don't want to say such an intricate part, but I mean, he did pretty good 2 years ago, and now it's like the guy can't even make the team. It's like we went to the playoffs 2 years ago with this guy on the team, on the roster. We were completing passes to him, and now he's same guy. Same offense. He's 3 years in the same offense. He should know that, and he's on the practice squad. But let's say Isaiah Hodgins, who starred when he came to the Giants during the second half of the 2022 season, but saw his role diminished the last 2 months, has left the Giants for the 49ers. Hodgins on Tuesday signed a reserve futures contract with the 49ers. Hodgins was claimed by the wide receiver needy Giants in the middle of the 2022 season. He caught 33 passes for 351 yards and 4 touchdowns in 8 games. So you basically just double that, right? He was on pace for 66 catches, 700 yards, and 8 touchdowns in a season. And now we can't even use him. I don't. I'm a little lost there. I don't. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, I guess one of the biggest things is the fact that with Malik, obviously Wandale. So the other one, he's not. I guess he's not bumping out, so to speak. I guess Darius Slayton. I guess, but in the Giants' 31-24 victory over the Vikings in the wild card round, Hodgins had a brilliant game. He caught 8 passes for 105 yards and a touchdown, and he did that, and his foot was all messed up. 2023, Hodgins' role decreased, and he caught only 21 passes for 230 yards and 3 touchdowns over a full 17-game schedule. Same guy, just 2024, his role decreased even further. He spent the season on a practice squad. The Giants elevated Hodgins for 3 games, and he caught just 2 passes. I mean, Hodgins will hope for a bigger opportunity in San Francisco. So, well, good for him. I hope. Now, it'd be interesting to see, what goes on with San Francisco there. But if what would you say? Shanahan's, can dial stuff up for him and all and everything. I'm sure. Hopefully, he'll get some better time, more time there. playing time, shall we say. I mean, it's just odd, One of the things also is that you kind of look at is that, um, the Giants were decimated with injuries this season, but one of the areas that they really weren't was wide receivers. Now, Malik every week had something different. Every week he was coming up. Every week, him and Burns, every week they played all the time, right? But Wandale played, right? Malik played. I mean, obviously, they had 202 receptions between the two of them. I mean, that's for such a crappy team. That's pretty mind blowing. The offensive lineman, yep. But it's because we brought offensive linemen in, but we bring them in, and some of them just, So GVR is gone. I think they said, well, not gone, but he's a free agent. I think they said Stinney. There was somebody else they were talking about. I can't remember. But we're going to need, absolutely, we're going to need some offensive linemen. Oh, yeah, going forward. Because what are they going to do with Evan Neal? I mean, is he a tackle, or are they going to bring him in the guard, right? We got Illuminor for one more year. Do we have our starting right tackle on this roster going forward? I mean, for years to come. I don't see that. You back up with Tom. Oh, well, that's it. The past 2 years, Thomas has missed like 18 games. I don't want to say is he wearing out or something, but he missed a bunch of time last year, and he missed a load of time this year. And that was one of the things is once, he played, I forgot what it was, the first 6 games or so, we were 2-3 at one point, right? We had, we were kind of in the fight, and then once he went, like the floodgates opened up and all these guys started getting injured. We had wound up with 10 different starting offensive line combinations. And that's just a kiss of death as well, too. Illuminor's going from the right side to the left side. You put Evan Neal in there. We had Hubbard in there, the tackles, and it just, John Michael Schmitz got hurt. We had to put GBR in at center. Moving guys all around. John Runyon, who of course never got injured. Turnstiles, yep. But John Runyon comes in, right? I don't know if he ever missed a game with the Packers, and that was one of the things. Oh, it's going to bring this guy in. Good, solid guard. Doesn't miss time. Doesn't get injured. Comes here. What's he do? Gets injured. Shocking. Oh, these freaking injuries are killing me. So the Giants, they signed to the future reserve futures contract. Casey Rogers and Ross Blaylock, centers Jimmy Morrissey and Brian Hudson, and place kicker Jude McAteemney. All 5 players ended the season on the Giants practice squad. Rogers, who was an undrafted free agent rookie, played in 2 games. McAteemney, who was also an undrafted rookie free agent, kicked a field goal and an extra point against the Commanders in his only game. Morrissey was on the practice squad from August 28th to December 10th, when he was designated practice squad injured reserved. Or squad injured, I'm sorry, just practice squad injured. The latter date was when Blaylock joined the practice squad. Hudson was signed to the practice squad on November 6th. Morrissey appeared in 14 games with 4 starts for the Texans from 2021 to 2023. Blaylock has 44 games of NFL experience with the Texans, Jaguars, and the Titans, and Hudson has never appeared in an NFL game. So the Giants, they starting to fill out their 90-man roster. Of course, as I said, that little thing, Hodgins won't be there. So good for him. Hope he does well. Right, good for him. I said if he can ever find any kind of a role there with San Francisco, if Shanahan's there, I'm sure he'll get some passes. Just a little more. I can see this year because the Giants wide receivers, Hyatt seemed like he was always there, right? We had the Fab Four, we had Hyatt, we had Slate, we had Wandale, we had Malik, right? Almost every game. So there wasn't much. We had Bryce Ford Wheaton, but a lot of him was maybe was practice squad. I'm not the practice squad. Special teams, you only have so many, wide receivers up. So, so those guys kind of stayed healthy, especially the top four. And that kept Hodgins on the practice squad, kept them, So if there's ever a point in time where the 49ers can elevate them, hopefully he'll get some catches and all and everything. But, it's a shame, but it is what it is. All right, then we got so those were 5 guys the Giants added. I saw this article here. Possibly, right? 8 free agents from the 8 Giant free agents, right? Pending free agents that the Giants should think about re-signing in this one article here. Now, of course, the one thing is that most of the guys on this list here out of these 8 are cheap, right? So it's not going to take much of a chunk out of the salary or the salary cap that the Giants have. Now the last one is the man in the picture there, right? He might take if the Giants were to go after Mr. Slayton here, he's gonna want more than just $6 million a year, I'm sure. When the reporters were talking to him after the season, I guess it was on Monday, it didn't sound like I don't know. He was maybe too thrilled about trying to maybe possibly come back here. One of the things was, I know he likes Saquon, he's gone, but of course DJ was his man, and of course DJ's gone. So, and one of the reasons why he also came back and hung around. I mean, making $6 million a year. This year he didn't do quite as well. And another one of the reasons why quite positive. He may not want to come back is because, all the targets that Malik and Wandale got. I mean, they got 202 catches between the two of them. They had like 300 targets between the two of them. Right. So when you get 300 targets going to 2 guys, that kind of diminishes what you might wind up getting. And Hurt was one of the few times he didn't get at least 700 yards. I don't think he even had 600 yards this year receiving. So obviously, if Wandale, as long as they stay healthy, if Malik and Wandale are on the team here, okay, with Daboll, I guess, it just seems like Darius's role might diminish. And one thing he did say, I believe, was he wanted to go someplace where he can contribute. But I mean, a lot of like Aziz. One thing Aziz said too was they were asking him was, the best situation for me. Nobody comes straight out and says, whoever throws the most Benjamins at me, baby, that's where I'm going. Nobody comes out and says that. They'll say, the best situation, or what's the best for my family, or something. But they don't come out just whoever's throwing the most Benjamins at me, baby, that's where I'm going, right? But I'm sure Slayton, obviously, $6 million a year. I'm sure he'd like to, get a little bit more than that. And I said his role this season, because basically because Malik and Wandale got so many targets, but also they did stay healthy. I mean, his role really diminished quite a bit. But these 8 guys, now they said, I think the first bunch of them are really to re-sign him. One is Casey Kreider. I mean, we sign. I think we sign him every year. I think we signed him the last 900 years for a 1-year contract. Sign him, right? After the season's over with, you sign him again, just on the cheap, right? So we got 8 impeding free agents the Giants should re-sign. All right, we got here. For the Giants, the off season has come way too soon once again. That means not only is it time to start thinking about adding the roster pieces needed to improve, but also make decisions on some players already in-house. The Giants don't have many of these decisions to make, but there are a few impending free agents they could retain. Here are 8 we would like to see them keep. This is from Yahoo Sports. One thing is, and there was another thing, I can't remember if that was Shane speaking when he was speaking. I think it was him. is that we have 18 of the 22 starters. I said something along those lines coming back. We're not losing many guys, many starters. Well, I might be losing maybe 2 or so on defense. I said we're a GVR, right, and Slayton are obviously we need to add a quarterback. Obviously, that's a huge one. But I mean, on offense, we got Malik's coming back, Wandale's coming back, Bellinger's coming back. We're going to talk about Manhurts in this article. Theo Johnson. We got Illuminor. Let's see. GVR is not coming back, but we got Michael Schmitz. We got Runyon. We got Andrew Thomas. So Slayton's, he's an impending free agent. We put Hyatt in there. We're not sure if he's going to be the guy going forward or not. If the guy's able to run routes, but we said we do need a quarterback. But I said we've got the running back, so we're not losing a lot on offense. On defense, Pinnock. So we don't really have a lot of guys. We got a lot of guys under contract for next season, which is nice. The bad thing about it is that we finished 3-14 with a lot of these guys that are on this roster right now, and the roster that finished 3-14 is going to be looking the Giants square in the face next season too. So it's kind of like, we're not losing a lot of guys, which is good, but we're not losing a lot of guys, which is not good because this is the roster that we had with 3-14 with. So, all right, so 8 guys that they're talking about. One is the Hammer, Jamie Gillen, the Hammer. I would love to see the guy come back. Absolutely. Gillen's stats aren't eye-popping, but by any stretch. In fact, he had the lowest gross average in the NFL this year, 43.7. But as we know, that number can be deceiving. Gillen punted 56 times over 13 games played, and only 17 were returned. Very impressive. He put 27 punts inside the 20 and inducted 25 fair catches. The Giants were likely to check in on Gillen this offseason. I'd definitely bring him back. Another one we're talking about is this Casey Cryer. I think we sign him every year to a 1-year contract. Season's over with. We re-sign him. He comes back. So let's see. But he's 34. So we'll have to say. But Casey Cryer might be a concern, being 34. But he's one of the few stabilizing individuals on this roster. At the end of the season, he was the last captain standing. Reliable long snappers are hard to find. Yes, they are. And you can be a long snapper way past 34. So the Giants would do themselves a solid favor by bringing back Kreider for another year. Abso-freaking-lutely. Linebacker Deontay Johnson. Good, backup, right? But would be cheap. Technically, Deontay Johnson is not an unrestricted free agent. He's an exclusive rights free agent. He can really only sign with the Giants. If the Giants were to offer him a contract, he's got to sign it, okay? Which is good. Unless he's not tendered an offer, then he can go wherever he wants. But don't expect that to happen. They like him a lot, and we got a glimpse of what he can do in the team's season finale last Sunday against the Eagles. I think the amount of tackles he had, there was a couple different. PFF had him at one number, and I saw another article had him with another number. But right, you were impressed with what he did against the Eagles. They like him a lot, and we get a glimpse of what he can do. We expect the Giants to tender him, and once again, would not be expensive. Quarterback Tommy DeVito. He's the same thing, exclusive rights free agent. Meaning if the Giants give him an offer or tender him a deal, that he has to sign it. He can't shop it around or, let me think about it. I'll get back to you and see what I get out there. No, if the Giants go after him, I think they'd be. Let's not be kidding. Is the guy going to take us to a Super Bowl and this, that, and the other thing? Is he going to win league MVP? No. But this would be the next season was third season on the with his offense and all that stuff. A lot of familiarity. Can he throw the football? Does he understand the offense and all that stuff? Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. I mean, would it be? We need quarterbacks. We don't have any. Right? He would probably be the first one because he's. As I said, if the Giants tender him an offer, he has to take it. I don't know, whatever it is, $1 million, whatever it is, but he can't shop himself around. That his his agent, the guy has the hat and stuff like that, and everything like that. Can't shop him, nothing like that. Giants offer him something, he has to come back, and I think they'd be crazy not to have him. I said the guy's not Patrick Mahomes, but you're not asking him to be Patrick Mahomes. So Tommy DeVito. Retaining Tommy DeVito is a no-brainer. He's also an exclusive rights free agent, and with Brian Daboll and the coaching staff returning, it only makes sense to bring back a player who knows the system, which is huge. Right? Last year, DeVito, after a short flirtation with fame, spoke about playing elsewhere, but he didn't create the same spark this season to pique the interest of other clubs. What the Giants do here at quarterback with Drew Lock and in the draft will impact their plans with DeVito. So. This one to me, this one's a no-brainer. I mean, if you don't bring this guy back, you're just stone cold crazy. Kick returner Amir Smith-Marset. I mean, got to bring him back. Finding a kick returner these days is one of the most difficult parts of building a respectable special teams unit. The Giants got lucky with Smith-Marset, who played in 15 games and returned both punts and kickoffs, keeping the Giants' young position players out of the line of fire. He opened some eyes with his 100-yard kickoff return touchdown against Indianapolis. He should be brought back. Then he had another one he brought a return for a touchdown. I think it was a punt, but it got brought back as a penalty. So I would definitely bring him back. Then they talk about Chris Manhertz. Manhertz is mainly a blocker, but it doesn't hurt to have a blocking tight end in there, right? But he's a good one. He can also handle the ball if needed. Manhertz was available for all 17 of the Giants games this season, a rare feat for this team. You got that frickin' right. And won't cost them too much to keep. Absolutely not. Once again, it's the kind of the same thing like with Manhertz, right? You're bringing back somebody who's familiar with the system. They're not losing a lot of players, right? So he's familiar with the team. He's familiar with the system. He's a big dude. Good blocker, and it'd be cheap, right? And then this other one here is because they elevated him, Turbo Miller. They brought him. They didn't elevate him. They signed him to the 53-man roster the final week of the season. Turbo. Dante Miller spent the majority of the season on the practice squad, getting lost in the shuffle behind Motor, Singletary, Tyrone Tracy, and Eric Wright. Little Turbo, as he is known, is still very much on the team's radar, and they will likely add him back to the 90-man preseason roster and get him back into the building. Absolutely. I mean, the speed. You can't coach speed. You just can't, take a drop of water, add water, and add speed. You can't do it. What he's got is pretty darn special. So, and once again, he would be on the cheap. Right. And then we got the last one we're talking about here. I think it's the last one, right? Yeah. Darius Slayton. Okay. Giants wide receiver room is filled with young studs, and Darius Slayton was on board as the resident veteran. The Giants may not feel the need Slayton any longer now that Malik Neighbors and Wando Robinson have established themselves. The other variable here is Jalen Hyatt, who has been rumbling about his underuse. Slayton will be back if he's reasonably priced. Now we'll have to wait and see. I don't know if he'll be back. He also did say, I think when somebody was talking to him, I think he didn't get used a lot this year. I mean, obviously a lot of the targets went elsewhere. And they're also talking if he's back if he's reasonably priced. Well, one of the reasons why he is back is because he was reasonably priced. But now Daniel Jones is gone. He's not being used as much, not getting targeted as much. And you might think he might maybe think about maybe going elsewhere, maybe where the Do-Re-Mi is better. And plus, we might get more targets because the Giants got their two top dogs, right? Now, you also look at it, too, like, hey, anything's possible, right? If they were to go out and say the second or third round and draft a wide receiver, right, that might make Darius expendable. So we'll have to wait and see. The thing is, like with him, with Darius Slayton, is that, they signed if he signs as a free agent here for the Giants for 2 years or so, whatever, and the Giants do go out in the draft. I mean, because the free agency is first. He signs, okay, I'm a Giant. Then they go out and draft somebody and say in the second or third round. That might knock him from number 3 to number 4. He might be on the bench now. I just signed with the Giants. They brought me back, and now I'm on the bench. What? So we'll have to wait and see. As I said, a lot of it also might be the money too. Now, the Giants have a certain amount of money to spend, right? And Darius Slayton is not, is not part of this roster. So, I mean, whatever the salary cap that they have going for next season to spend, if they do bring Darius Slayton back, obviously that's going to take out of that pot that they have for the salary cap. So let's not forget that. So Slayton's a little iffy. I'm not sure if he's going to want to be back. Not sure if the Giants are going to want him back. We'll have to wait and see. But the Giants do have their 2 studs going forward. But it would make this roster even more better if they were to find another wide receiver. But all right, then we got, and then of course, you talk New York Giants, you got to talk. You got to talk injuries, right? So Nubin and Runyon, they've had surgeries and some other injury news as well. So I never heard this. It was interesting. I saw this article. Nubin and Runyon, and they learn something new every day. I'm an idiot. There's a trillion things I don't know. They had tightrope surgery. I'm like, what the is that? Well, they both apparently had the same thing done to them. So let's see here. Where are we at here? There was a long list here. Injury updates, what we know. Let's see. Interior offensive lineman John Runyon. Runyon, who landed on injury reserve with a high ankle sprain, for which he had surgery to fix a torn deltoid ligament in his ankle. Damn. Also revealed that he played the entire season with a separated shoulder. An injury that likely happened back in training camp when he missed a few practices with a shoulder issue. Runyon said he wasn't sure if he would need surgery to repair it, but a decision would probably be made sooner rather than later. But I mean, if he didn't have maybe a separated shoulder or he was trying to work through it, maybe he could have performed even better. But then of course then there's Burnsy. Burns, one of 2 Giant players, Greg Van Roten being the other, who didn't miss a single snap, basically due to injury, right? Put forth his heroic first season in Giants blue, playing through Achilles tendonitis and a groin issue. Burns did show up on the injury report throughout the year. Every week, he was on the report for something with mentions of both ailments, but he told reporters that he would not need surgery for either. Outside linebacker Azeez Ojulari. He tore a ligament in his toe, which landed him on the IR, but he said he didn't need surgery. Set to hit free agency this offseason. Ojulari is unlikely to be back. That's the thing. I mean, because like with Azeez, it's a shame. Because with the Giants actually had 3 good edge rushers, which is like, for this era of the Giants, that's mind-boggling. Right. Unfortunately, Kayvon got injured. And of course, you talk Azeez Ojulari, you can't. Azeez, I'm always going to get injured. Ojulari. Yeah. So wherever he goes, you have to wait and see if he does get injured there or not. But every time with the Giants, I say, I don't know if it's the field we play on or what it is, but guys always getting injured. Always getting injured. But the thing is, to bring him back, he's going to want to get paid. I mean, he ain't making $30 million a year. Nowhere near close to that, but he's going to want to get paid. And I'm not sure if the Giants are going to want to dish that, I don't know, whatever. I don't even know. 8 million, 10 million, I don't know. I don't even know what he's going to want. Come in. But I'm sure the Giants are going to want to dish that out to Azeez Ojulari to be a backup edge rusher. He's the first one off the bench. If Burnsy or Kayvon or whatever, maybe need a breather, he's the first one. He gets the snaps, but he's only going to get 20, 25 snaps if Burns and Kayvon are healthy, right? So for him to, pay a backup edge rusher, whatever, to be a backup, that's probably not in the Giants' future. Also, Azeez is going to want to get paid, but also Azeez is going to want to play. Now, once again, it'll be interesting to see. He's going to want to play, but can he stay healthy? Hasn't been able to stay healthy with the Giants. Right? So he's always had injuries, always killed him. So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe he should go to the Eagles because apparently, anybody who goes to the Eagles stays healthy. So maybe he should go to Philadelphia. I'm sure. Maybe Howard Roseman, their GM, might offer him some kind of a deal. Tyler Nubin. Nubin also landed on injured reserve this year due to high ankle sprain for which he had tightrope surgery. So did Runyon. He should be good to go in the spring. Bobby Okereke, he didn't have surgery either, but confirmed an earlier report of having a herniated disc in his back, but added that it is healing and that he hopes to be ready for the start of the spring program in late April. There was also, what we got here? Yeah, here we go. So Tyler Nubin and John Runyon Jr. both underwent tightrope surgery. I was like, what the? I was like, I'm an idiot. There's a trillion things I don't know. So I learned. Cool, right? Giants were back in their facility on Monday morning, bagging up their belongings after closing out their season. This is the day when the public usually gets the full story of what's been going on behind the scenes the last few months, such as injuries. Dan Dugan of The Athletic is reporting that two of the Giants' key starters underwent surgery to repair their injured ankles. Safety Tyler Nubin had tightrope surgery for his high ankle sprain he suffered in Week 14. Offensive lineman, our right guard, John Runyon Jr., had tightrope surgery for a high ankle sprain and surgery to repair a torn deltoid ligament on his inner ankle. I didn't know there was a deltoid ligament on his inner. He also suffered his injuries in Week 14. Tightrope surgery is described as a minimally invasive surgical procedure that stabilizes the ankle after an injury. That entails a tunnel to be drilled through the tibia and fibula and a braided polyethylene cord with metallic buttons at each end is inserted in the tunnel to secure the ankle in place, which accelerates the healing process. Runyon was signed as a free agent, well, we know that, 3-year, $30 million deal, and played every offensive snap in the team's first 12 games before getting injured in the 14-11 loss to the Saints. Nubin, a second-round pick out of Minnesota in last year's NFL draft, played in every defensive snap in 11 of the Giants' first 12 games, and he got injured. So these guys, it was, they were, big parts of the Giants. So, and they're coming back. Despite missing the last 4 games, Nubin finished second on the team in total tackles with 98. He missed the last 4 games, and he finished with 98 tackles. Right? So, if he played in the last 4, he would have had like 120, 125 tackles. As a rookie safety, he would have led the team. Which was actually, I'm not sure what McKinney had. But at the time that Nubin got injured, he had 98 tackles, obviously. McKinney had like 70 or 75 or something like that. So, but McKinney had a lot more interceptions. So, but Nubin's a tackler. He's a tackler. You never saw McKinney up there at the top of the leaderboard as far as tackles on the team. And he never, Xavier McKinney, he's second on the team in tackles. And no, you didn't really see that. You see that with Nubin. You see Phillips. Phillips mixes it up too. So we got two real good defensive players in this draft. With Nubin and Phillips, 2 real good players. And he led all NFL rookie defenders in total tackles as well. So he missed the last 4 games, and he led all NFL rookie defenders in total tackles as well. Nubin. And now, not only that, all right, but so Nubin led all NFL rookies in tackles. And Phillips, he also, if you go to PFF, he's in the top upper echelon as far as PFF grades for cornerbacks. And I mean all cornerbacks. So, so that man's got a bright young future ahead of him. These guys, they need, because he missed some time. Newman missed some time. Shocking, I know. But these guys can stay healthy. I mean, we got some tacklers on this team. Obviously, one of the problems the Giants have had has been missed tackles. That's something. It's been a Achilles heel for the Giants, missed tackles. But between Phillips and Newman, I'll tell you what, we really hit it out of the park with those two guys. Really, especially Phillips in the third round. Whew, good pick. Good pick. So now going back to Mr. Mara now. I did see this here, right? He hinted at a major move with the top coach. Ooh, who could that possibly be? One thing he did say was, I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe it says it in this article here. Was that he said he was talking about the defense or the lack thereof at certain points in time. Now to be fair, there were times, I mean, like it's not the beginning of the season, right? With Bowen liked to get pressure with the front four, and of course after I don't know whatever it was, first 6-7 games we had like 35 sacks. We're leading the NFL. I'm like, man, all right, baby, here we go. Woo! And then after that we just started tailing off, right? His red zone defense was supposed to be very, very good. And let's not forget, we go back to the first time when we played the Commanders. The Commanders kicked 7 field goals. We lost, was it 21-18? I think it was. But I think on the red zone, 6 times and then scored a touchdown, right? The problem was we couldn't stop them. They just kept walking up and down the field. That's not good. But when they did get inside the red zone, they didn't score a touchdown, which is good, right? But I mean, there was times we just gave up a lot of points. So we just couldn't stop anybody on the ground a lot of times. So Mr. Mara was not thrilled over the moon, shall we say, with at times with the defense, right? And so he had this to say. This is when the reporters were interviewing him Monday. Giants coach John Mara. Giants coach. Yeah, right, coach John Mara. Giants owner John Mara hints at a major move with the top coach. Owner John Mara kept head coach Brian Daboll after a dismal season. Defensive coordinator Shane Bowen might not be so lucky. I'd love to see Robert Saleh in here. Now you're not sure if Saleh, would want to come back. I'm not sure if he walks back into this building, he would get hives and he would just start vomiting if he's just so sick and tired of the New York, or, if he'd want to, come back into this building and show, that, he can do it. I mean, he's going to get a job. Somebody's going to hire him as a defensive coordinator. He did too good of a job in San Fran, right? So you're not sure if he's going to want to, I don't know if he's want to get back in the fire this season or what, but, do one thing is that between him and Daboll, they were good friends. So I don't know if anybody's picking a phone up and talking to Saleh. I'd love to see Saleh. I'm not saying we're going to the Super Bowl now, but I would love to see Saleh on as a defensive coordinator. That'd be really cool. But, all right. Giants made the first big decision of their offseason. Right? Mara made it official on Monday that Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen will be back co-piloting the Giants in 2025. However, it's clear there's plenty of work to be done. No kidding. The chief issue remains under center, where the consequences of Daniel Jones' contract still loom, but extend across the roster. The Giants were blown out several times during their 10-game losing streak, a testament to struggles on both sides of the ball. Yep. New York must improve on the defensive side of the ball, and that could start at defensive coordinator. Quite frankly, I didn't think our defense played very well this year at all, Mr. Mara said. I know that when you have an offense that performs like that, you're putting more pressure on your defense, but we need to make improvements there. I'm tired of watching teams go up and down the field on us. So I think that has to be addressed. I think we need some more depth in the offensive line. Yep, but the number one thing certainly is quarterback. I was saying 3 years, Daboll has hired 2 defensive coordinators, Wink Martindale and Shane Bowen. Bowen replaced Martindale after the coach and coordinator had a falling out of sorts and changed New York's defense from its uber-aggressive ways. While not necessarily an indictment of that schematic choice, the Giants' defense was poor in each of the last 2 seasons. They ranked 22nd and 29th in expected points added per play and success rate in 2023 before falling to 29th and 28th respectively in 2024. Poor injury luck, of course, made matters worse. Losing defensive tackle Sexy Dexy, basically every starting cornerback, right? Flott, Phillips, Banks, right? And both starting linebackers by season ends. Kayvon Thibodeau missed time as well. But Bowen had Burns to keep the pass rush afloat. Well, if you want to call it that. New York's newfound urgency and the perceived playoff mandate could force Daboll's hand to find a new defensive coordinator. The unsteady job security and above-average talent make the Giants a lesser destination, but plenty of respectable options remain between Matt Eberflus, Gerard Mayo, Dennis Allen, and a crop of assistants who weren't relieved of head coaching duties this season. For some reason, I don't know why they didn't bring up Robert Saleh, but it also opens the door for a defensive player like cornerback Travis Hunter or edge rusher Abdul Carter to be taken with the number 3 pick, should the quarterback position be figured out before April. Needless to say, the pressure is on. New York can ill afford to overlook the defensive side of the ball in a regime-defining offseason. As I said, there's I can't remember. Is it Nate or Graham? Graham, the defensive lineman from Michigan as well too. I'm not sure if they want to go with Hunter, the cornerback, or once again, I'll know a lot more of this by the time April rolls around. But there's a cornerback from Michigan. Wink had some players there in Michigan. Yes, he did to play around with that. They have a cornerback there who's supposed to be all that and a bag of Doritos. He's supposed to be really good. So if the Giants don't go, obviously quarterback, and whatever number 3, right? That's another conversation for another day. But if they, look for a defensive stud, because there'll be a couple guys there to take to add to our defense. I said, we need a cornerback to replace Banks, quite possibly, right? And we need somebody, good defensive lineman, right, who can raise heck on the defense. Obviously, we put somebody next to Sexy Dexy, because you get Kayvon, you got Burnsy, you get another good stud next to Sexy, and everything starts on the trenches. If you can't control the trenches, good luck trying to win football games. So, that's a good possibility in a defensive stud. And look what the Giants did in the 3rd round here, right? Also, let's not forget, Flott was a later round pick as well too. He had a pretty good year this year. He just, once again, he gets injured a lot. He's like 112 pounds soaking wet, so he gets injured a lot. But, he had a good season this year. But let's not forget, 3rd round, we got Phillips, right? Might be a little difficult in the 3rd round to find your number 1 cornerback, but I think, either a good cornerback, or, we need a good cornerback, right? Or a good defensive lineman would really help this defense out a lot. Really help. I mean, especially if you got somebody who like just eats up blocks, eats up space and all that, and gives like Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden behind him, room to roam and make the tackles, right? So, but interesting. Mr. Mara was not, I guess, what do you say, over the moon as far as our defensive performance this year, and there were times, without question. Where it's just embarrassing. Teams just running on us, right? Giving up a lot of points in other games. It's just it's just not the Giant way. I'm not sure if this is the first season in a new scheme, defensive scheme that causes some problems. But I mean, it didn't seem like maybe Okereke was used, because I mean, when he was the 1 year he had with Wink, he was free. He was roaming. He was making tackles all over the place. That wasn't so much the case this year with Bowen, right? So I'm not sure it was the scheme or exactly what it was, but we'll have to wait and see. But that's something to keep an eye on. And then finally, this, right? It's been obviously he's been a hot topic. So actually, I saw, when the heck was it? It was Monday. The Bears wanted to interview him. Right now, he's up to 2 teams, 2 head coach interview requests so far for Kafka. So far, right? Now, he might get more, but over the past, however many, 3 years now, right? Keeps getting interview requests. So we'll have to wait and see if anything happens there. And it just goes to show you, right? I mean, being on such a crappy team, he's kind of a little bit of a hot candidate there. Also goes to show you, also too, right, is that he was calling the plays when we went 9-7-1 and went to the playoffs, right? They got Daboll. And there was another thing that Mr. Mara was talking about with Daboll as far as maybe giving up calling plays. But Daboll was calling plays this year, and obviously injuries and all the quarterback rotation and all of that didn't help much. But Kafka was calling the plays for the Giants, right, when they went 9-7-1 and they won a playoff game. Right, so he's becoming a hot topic here. All right, so I got this here. Second team requests head coaching interview with the New York Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka. Could Kafka be headed to a new location? Now, accordingly, he still is under contract for next season. So, Mike Kafka wasn't good enough to call offensive plays for Brian Daboll's 3-14 Giants in 2024. Giant offensive coordinator, though, certainly seems to be good enough to continue drawing head coaching interest around the NFL. The Saints on Tuesday became the second team with the head coaching vacancy to request an interview with Kafka. The Chicago Bears made the same request on Monday. Nolans fired Dennis Allen during the season, and the Bears did the same with Matt Eberflus. This will mark 8 head coaching interviews for Kafka in 3 seasons since he joined Daboll's staff in 2022. Last offseason, he had 2 interviews with the Seahawks for their vacancy and 1 with the Titans. After the 2022 season, he interviewed for openings with the Panthers, the Texans, the Colts, and the Cardinals. Kafka's 37-year-old former NFL quarterback who came to the Giants after working for Andy Reid with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's a kind of bright, young, offensive-minded coach many teams seem to be seeking. So, we got the Bears here. Bears are interested in interviewing Mike Kafka to be their next head coach. NFL regular season is over. Thank God. Well, for the Giants anyway. Whoops. Which means the league will diverge along 2 paths, the playoffs and the offseason. For less fortunate teams like the Giants, the offseason begins with Black Monday and the day when most coaches and executives get their pink slips and find themselves on the open market. The Giants decided to spare head coach Brian Daboll and general manager Joe Schoen on Monday, opting to give them at least 1 more season to right the ship and return New York to relevance. It doesn't mean that the Giants coaching staff will remain the same. Defensive coordinator Shane Bowen struggled to maximize the benefits of a strong pass rush, and Daboll brought up the idea of giving up play calling duties, presumably to whoever's manning the offensive coordinator spot. For the past 3 seasons, that's been Mike Kafka. On Monday, though, his long-term fate in New York was made less certain, not by the unit's struggles, but because of the promise of as a coach. According to Ian Rappaport, the Bears requested an interview with Kafka for their vacancy at head coach. Last season, the Seattle Seahawks did the same for the offensive coordinator gig, but the Giants blocked the request. With less job security and a year removed from calling plays, New York is less likely to reject the inquiry this time around for a lateral move. He cannot be blocked from interviewing for a promotion now. Kafka lost the right to call plays in 2024, but was compensated by an additional title, assistant head coach, before the season, boosting his resume, which already has a Super Bowl ring with the Kansas City Chiefs and NFL playing experience on it. suggests that he'd be willing to take a promotion and Daboll would let him go. Despite New York's struggles offensively, Kafka has remained relatively untarnished. He was scoring plays for Daniel Jones' best season in 2022. And he didn't have, and let's not forget, Wan'Dale Robinson got injured in 2022, right, against the Lions. And then, of course, we didn't have Malik Neighbors, but they did have Saquon, right? And obviously, Kafka has Kansas City connections. Teams lust over every offseason and is well regarded as an offensive mind. Kafka is under contract for next season with New York, but the chance to coach 2024 number one pick Caleb Williams could be too much to pass up in the event the Bears extend an offer. The Giants will visit Chicago at some point next season. Aha, interesting. Ooh, that would be very interesting, right? But I mean, I'm sorry, I missed. Oh boy, I'm sorry. What we got? What's your opinion on the Giants quarterback situation? No. Yeah, see, a lot of it. I mean, with these quarterbacks coming out, I mean, I don't have time to sit down, unfortunately, and watch a lot of film and all that stuff on these guys coming out. I take other people's advice. So you listen to, these other gurus and all that stuff and everything. Some of them don't even have first round grades on some of these guys. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Giants take one of these guys at number 3. That could be a reach. That could be a huge, huge reach. But, a lot of it, a lot of stuff you don't know about. A lot of it's they sit down and talk to these guys. That's huge. They get to know the guys, right? They try to pick their brains and all that. That's huge. They go through their pro days. I'm not at the pro days and all that stuff and everything. So I can only look at film and listen to what other people got to say and everything. But like PFF, I go sometimes by what their grades are and everything, and they don't grade these guys very high. There's a lot of guys that are graded a lot higher than these guys. I mean, positional players. These guys are kind of there's none of these guys. Nobody's. It's like if you take Cam Ward, you're set for the next 15 years, right? If you take Shedeur Sanders, he's your man for the next 15 years. You're going to the Super. No, there's none of that. Jalen Milroe. I heard he's got a nice ceiling to him, but he might need some coaching. He might be something to think about, maybe one of the later rounds, right? The thing is also the problem is it's like it's free agency, then it's the draft, right? And the two teams in front of the Giants, the Browns and the Titans, both need quarterbacks. Now, if one of those teams was the Patriots, say the Patriots were 1, the Titans were 2, and the Giants were 3, the Giants could leap. If they fell in love with one of these guys, we get Cam Ward, we're good to go. Well, they could leapfrog Tennessee, right, and go to number 1. They have to dish out some draft picks, right? And they can get their guy, and they might be good to go. But the problem is that both these teams in front need a quarterback. Now I don't know if they're gonna, they might pass. They might pass on these quarterbacks, and the Giants might have both these quarterbacks fall in their lap, right? But you don't know exactly what the Giants think about these guys. Right? You need. You're picking number 3. You need a hit. You need, you swing and miss here, boy. You're just writing your own pink slip. You're saying bye-bye. But it'd be interesting to see. You don't know what the Giants are going to do, like in the offseason, because free agency's first. Do they go out and try to, because the Vikings have J.J. McCarthy, and they got McCarthy, they got some guy, Daniel Jones, who is now on the active roster, right? They signed him to the active roster, and Sam Darnold. So they're not going to keep all those guys, right? So they're going to let probably one of them go. You got with the Steelers, you got Russell Wilson, you got Justin Fields. They're probably not going to keep both of those guys. Russell Wilson was with the Steelers this year, like on the veteran minimum, I think it was, because I think the Broncos were paying like his whole salary or something like that. So they can't keep both guys next year. So do the Giants go out that way and try to get somebody? Do they go after Darnold? Just saying, right? Did he bring him in as a bridge quarterback, or did they bring him in for sign him for a 4-year deal? I mean, or maybe he might be the quarterback going for. He's young enough. So it's gonna be very, very interesting. But I mean, that happens first. So it'll be interesting to see what the Giants, do in the offseason as far as trying to get like a veteran bridge quarterback. Or as I said, if they sign Sam Darnold to a 4-year deal for whatever, 4 years, $160 million, well, he might be their quarterback on, right? He might be their quarterback going for the future. And then the Giants can concentrate on grabbing grabbing the best player available in each round of the draft. Maybe taking a quarterback, maybe in the 3rd or 4th round or something like that. But so it's going to be interesting because if they do sign Sam Darnold, right? I said it might be another video for another day going over all the quarterbacks out there. But they take somebody like him. I said he made himself some money this year. That's for sure. South Bronx. Hey, good. I'm almost sure they won't draft. Everything I hear from is like he just seems like he's a stretch. We're talking pick 3 in the draft. You got to be right about this. If you're not right, you're wrong. Bye bye. They can't. They got to. They really got to hit this one out of the park. And apparently, there are some good players there. Not quarterbacks, but there are some good players there who are worthy of maybe the number 3 overall pick. And quarterbacks are not one of them. I mean, each one of these guys got problems. They all got problems. There's no Andrew Luck. There's no Trevor Lawrence. There's no Peyton Manning in this draft. There's no John Elway. Right? You take John Elway, you got your quarterback. Andrew Luck. Remember him with the Colts? They couldn't protect him. He got beat up so badly. But he was that all these guys got issues. So it's going to be very interesting to see where these quarterbacks go. Do they go 1 and 2, or do they start sliding down the board? It's going to be interesting to see. So, as far as if they don't think these guys are worthy of a pick, top 3, obviously don't pick them. Take somebody else who can almost immediately help your team, because also that too, the Giants, they got to start improving, or Shane and Daboll ain't going to be around, right? So if they draft one of those defensive linemen, I think his name is Graham, or if they take Hunter, a cornerback, or there's the cornerback, I can't remember his name, from Michigan. Those are guys almost like maybe plug and play. They're going to help you right away, right? And I said, if you can take a quarterback, take somebody in the 2nd or 3rd round. If I'd bring Tommy DeVito back because he knows the system. He would be cheap. And I said, we're going to be interested to see what they want to do in the offseason as far as signing in the quarterback. I have to wait and see. But I mean, every year that's the exciting thing. It's always exciting things going on. I mean, last season it was always what's going on with Saquon, right? Well, we found out. So this year we don't have a quarterback. So what's going on with the quarterback? Every year there's always something. So this year it's what's going on with the quarterback, right? So it's going to be very, very interesting. So what do we got? A little over 2 months. I mean, that's the one nice thing about football. Really, it's like the 1 month. I can't remember what it's like, June to July. There's like a month, 5 weeks or something like that, where they're like everybody's gone. But I mean, you got the season goes until beginning of January, right? Then you got the playoffs, right? Then you got the Super Bowl at the beginning of February, right? Then you got the combine, right? Toward the I guess that's toward the end of February, I believe it is, right? The combine. Then you start talking the draft. But in between the combine and the draft, you got free agency. In the middle of March, you got free agency, right? And then toward the end of April, you got the draft. Then you got the mini camps and all this stuff and everything. So it's almost always something going on. It's like 1 month where there's like middle of June, middle of July, whatever. There's like nothing going on, but there's always something going on. And I mean, the Giants season ended, thank God, and all that stuff. But a little over 2 months, like 9 weeks or so, we got free agency. So there's always something going on. Gotta love it. All right, guys, been 1 hour and 25 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you, thank you, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay, just once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. And as always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.